asked to share again.
Good morning, everyone.
Wait, you're not sharing. Try again.
Okay,
Sorry. I
you're fine.
accidentally exited out of that.
Okay,
You got it.
got it. Okay, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We got you. We could see you.
Okay, I'm
Thank
going
you,
to switch
Jennifer.
this to the from the beginning. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I am the data abstractor for the PAC3 Collaborative, which is Pediatric Acute Care Cardiology for Vanderbilt. I've been doing this since 2022. We were brand new, so there were zero records uh, in our database. And one of the things that we started to do was we wanted to pay attention to the health determinants. And so Brittany Hills was one of the uh, residents down here, and then she went up to Cincinnati Children's and started a project that looked at the records for a drive time to the center, neighborhood deprivation indices, air quality, things like that, to see if there were opportunities to share this information across the facilities. And so, how we do that is first downloading an independent software called Docker Desktop. It holds the census data and the deprivation indices for the neighborhoods, those images. And then what we can do is run our files up against those containers, and we're not sharing PHI um, across the internet. So this is a standalone program. It costs about $70 a year. The longest part of this process, I told George, was getting it approved from the IT department at Vanderbilt. So once that was approved, it took about a year for them to approve it. And there's occasionally it will get wiped off my desktop and I have to start the whole process over again. Um,
Now that may be Vanderbilt specific, that timeline.
it may
We'll
be.
put that out there.
Yeah. So once your images are downloaded into the Docker desktop for your facility, for your neighborhoods, then it's just compared against those going forward. The Those tables update every 5 to 10 some time frame. They've updated a couple of times in the last couple of years. Um, and then the DeGauss portion is the tool that geocodes all of the addresses. So for those images, for the addresses that you're pulling in, it will give you the geocode and then the drive time distance to the facility. There is a lot more information on the DeGauss website if you're interested, and there's also the project itself, the health equity module is available. You can see more information on the PAC3 website, which I've included down here. Um, you know, so one big question is, why is this important? And so I was thinking about that as I was putting this together. It allows us, as we're all family-centered facilities, just to be cognizant of the disparities between the patient population that we serve. It highlights the needs related to primary language deprivation, neighborhood deprivation index, and distance to center. It's shared across centers without sharing PHI. Um, One of the things that I've been talking about with one of my team members is it could it be used to potentially identify patients ahead of time before they come into the hospital for a visit? Can we use this information to do that? And then we have reporting information on the Arbormetrics platform, which we can do for different lengths of time. If you want to know different things, what languages, what distances to center, et cetera, et cetera, those are available on the Arbormetrics platform, which is our reporting platform. So the first thing that I do is I open the Docker desktop and it sits open in the background. I open a new command prompt on my computer, and I'm going to walk through these steps right now, and then I'll show you. I'll actually go through the demo. I go into Cardio Access and use the utilities. There's a a DeGAUSS tool in Cardio Access, and it will give me a list of patients that says, and I'll tell it for whatever time range I would like to pull all the addresses for those patients that are available. And there's an option to say, let's say it's a new neighborhood, and it hasn't had a chance to geocode yet. Those will show up on the file as NA, unavailable. And so I can tell the tool for next time, don't geocode this address. There's a little option to do that. So I've done that for several of the newer addresses if it's a newer neighborhood. So creates a CSV file that has the hospital ID and the address for me. And then, so this is the time frame, and then it creates this CSV file, and then I'll download it onto my computer. I will save it to, here's an example of a CSV that's just a dummy data. I will save that on my computer in a specific drive because my command prompts are mapped to a specific drive. And then I go through a series of steps to run the DeGAUSS tool. So my address file is in a specific format, and then I will run each of these Docker commands on the command prompt. One to geocode, then it does the deprivation index, then it does the drive time to Vanderbilt specifically. And each center obviously has their own drive time setup. Then I will get a CSV file on the C drive, and then I will take all of the PHI off of the file, which is the first 8 or so columns, and then I will, if there are any imprecise geocodes, I will put those back in Cardio Access and tell it not to geocode in the future. I'll delete those rows from the file, and then I will go back and import the ending file into Cardio Access, and then everything's geocoded. Or in the case of Dr. Nicholson, I just give him my output file. So does anybody have any questions about that before I actually show you the process? I'm gonna say no.
No, thank you. And yeah, as Jennifer said, I get an Excel file that I can show as well, and then the pieces of information I take from that Excel file that I put into the REDCap.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can get to my file screen, my command prompt. Okay, I'm going to go here and I have a file that is saved on my drive. So I'm just going to run through the command prompts and show you how this works. I went ahead and did a file ahead of time. Let me find what I'm looking for. Go here. We'll run this first prompt. Can you guys see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay, let me share. Here we go. Sorry. Okay. And I want to put that down. Okay, now can you see command.
Yes.
So I ran that first command, and this is the output. So what it did is saved another file that had the geocode on it. Then I'm going to run the second command. I can maneuver. Hang on 1 second. I apologize. Do this. Nice here. Having trouble getting out of the stop that real quick and I'll get here. I apologize for the okay, second command is this one. And then let me share that. Okay. And so then it outputs the deprivation index. And that will be a separate file. And it takes a few minutes for it to run. And then it'll tell me it's finished. And then the new file will be listed down below. And those will all be on that same drive underneath the that folder. Let me go and do this last.
So Jennifer, while that's running,
Yeah.
you put in the first command prompt that you put up on a previous slide. It ran it, and then you put in the second command prompt that you showed on the previous slide, and then this is the output that we're seeing? Okay.
Correct. And it'll be a separate file on that same drive that will just have that additional information on it. So the first one will have all the geocodes, the next one will have the deprivation indices, and then the third one, which I'm about to run now, will have the drive time distance to Vanderbilt specifically. If it were another facility. I don't know why it's doing it. Let me see. That one gave me an error message. Let me see if I can figure out why. So the final file, let me show you that this is without PHI on it. I removed those other fields. The final file with the drive time distance. So here's all the ones that are NA. I would go into each of those and say, do not geocode. And then here's the final output with the geocode, the deprivation indices, and then the final column is the drive time distance to Vanderbilt. So it's fairly easy.
Is there a all we're still seeing is the command prompt screen right now?
Oh, I apologize. Let me see. Let me go here. Take that down. Now, can you see the file? Are you able to see the file?
No, we're still seeing the command prompt screen.
I apologize. Let me go back here. And
Glad you brought this up, George, because I thought this is what we're supposed to be saying.
I'm sorry.
Having never seen this before, it's helpful to have someone who has seen it know that we're not supposed to see that.
Share this would be better. I apologize. Going back and forth was challenging. So all of the PHI has been removed, those first 8 columns, and here is the final file. Here are the ones that are not able to be geocoded for whatever reason, usually a new neighborhood. And so the first few columns are the geocode, then we have the deprivation indices, and then the final column is the distance to Vanderbilt. So that's the output file that I'll send to George or import to Cardio Access myself for our registry.
And then if I can share my screen, I have an example of the Excel file that Jennifer sent me, and then I've highlighted the two things that I take from that Excel file and I put into the REDCap.
That'd be great to see.
All right, everyone should be seeing my screen with the Excel file. The track.
Wait, not yet. Okay, now it's up.
No, sorry. The column that says FIPS track ID, that's the actual geo tag, and that's the number you put in the REDCap. And then the deprivation index, that's the number that we put into the REDCap as well. And then the third question in our REDCap is regarding the distance. I just use Google Maps. Since this gives us driving time, but we've asked for distance, I just use Google Maps and I just plug in the home address for that individual patient. But these are the two pieces of information that we use to that I then take and put into the REDCap.
And for the distance, George, when you go into Google Maps, I'm assuming the standard is the shortest distance people should use. Okay.
Correct. Yep, that's what we do.
So those first 4 patients were the ones that you were able to use that information for.
Correct. And then my plan with this is to I plan to batch the patients in terms of when I send this for the ask, and I obviously send Jennifer the patient's name and MRN in our system and say, can I get the Gauss geocodes for, and I just send, and I usually batch it in a list. As she mentioned to me that it's easier to do them in batches instead of just one at a time.
That's a good pro tip.
Yeah. And then I owe her some coffee.
A lot of coffee, I bet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. As someone who has never seen this before, has never used this before, so they're ignorant questions. So this is something that you use in PAC3. So any center that has PAC3 presumably has this software at their center, because you said it took like Vanderbilt a year to get it and get access to it. I presume that I am also at a center that takes its time to get things done. So I'm just concerned about, like, I will look into it at my center, whether we have this and how we get this data into our center. But is that something, a right assumption to think that any center that's doing PAC3 data already has DeGauss or DeGauss person?
We have, I don't think we have about 50 centers that are participating, maybe 52 at this point that are participating in PAC3. I don't believe all of the facilities are geocoding yet, just for that reason. They're either trying to get access to it or they're not ready because they're in a backlog, something like that. So at Vanderbilt, we stay within probably 7 to 9 days from discharge, loading our records and submission. So we're ahead of the curve in terms of timeliness. So some other centers may be behind in that way.
And I had spoken with Dr. Hills, a couple months ago, and that was her recommendation, was that if a center is part of PAC3 and is doing the social determinants of health module in PAC3, piggyback on that. She found that to be the easiest course of action. If not, and you can download the software, we can also help kind of run through the first patient that you have to do, and like with anything, right? The first time is always going to be the longest, and it just gets easier and easier and easier as you do it.
And I think the idea of doing it in batches probably makes sense as you guys are doing over at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's no right timeline right now for the PVS data entry, right? I mean, we just want to get patients in there, but it's not like, you can always go back and add the data too.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that like page, that's a separate page, right, Rachel, if I'm not mistaken? It's like, and George. It's just,
Yeah,
so we can go through, do all of our clinical data, right? Like
yeah.
and then maybe save that page for later.
Yeah, it's under the I'm looking at a patient I have up right now on my other screen. It's under the demographic tab.
Okay.
Towards the bottom, it's the last three questions in the demographic tab.
Okay.
Judah, have you done this at CHOP already, or is this something that you haven't done? Because I know you've done a lot of data entry at your center.
No, we haven't done it yet. I mean, we're discussing it. Kelly does it for pack 3, so we just have to work that out,
Okay.
like how we're going to approach it.
It
But
might
we're
be
going to do
a
batch.
batch
We're going to
setup
do
for
like a
you.
batch. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically what we're going to do.
Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Rachel in Pittsburgh, I'm using Fred. He's my pack 3 guru, and he's been very helpful.
Fred's
If you
amazing.
have that resource, it's amazing. You know, everyone knows Fred. He's our rock star, I'm telling you.
He is. He even created a faster tool for pack 3.
He's my poster child. When we first hired him, he wasn't a clinical person. And I think sometimes when you get a non-clinical brain in this space, it helps a lot because the way we were doing things, he's like, you guys are crazy. We can just do this and this and this and make your lives easy. And we're like, thank you, Fred.
So great.
Everyone needs a Fred.
Rachel, did you have other questions?
I'll probably come up with more offline and I might circle back to you, Jennifer, if you don't mind.
That sounds fine. I can give you my cell phone number, or I'm happy to give that out. It's 513-208-7288 for anybody who has questions. Feel free to reach out. Last name is Tierney, Tierney.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
It's very nice of you, Jennifer. We'll try not to abuse your phone number. Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on and doing this demo and really appreciate it. Some food for thought for our organization, George, is maybe to poll our organization and find out what their pack 3 DeGAUSS status is and find out what their resources are at their center and how we can maybe work with to advise them to, work with their person to maybe batch organize it so they're not stuck doing this themselves if possible, or if not, we have this as a resource to help them do it themselves if they have to. That's what comes to mind.
I think it's a great idea.
Oh, Jennifer, thank you.
No
No,
worries.
it's always when you have to do a demo that's being recorded that something goes a little sideways. I'm going to stop recording. Thank you, Jennifer. Really appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate your grace.
Yeah.